We got Max Starks for one more segment. So, Max, thank you for sticking around. I'm going to throw this out there. A story that was on NFL.com that we saw before the show that looked at every NFL team's floor and ceiling. Okay, so we're in that week right now where every site's trying to predict every team's win total, and they all seem to mysteriously come up right around the Vegas over/under anyway. But they have the Cardinals floor, Max, at 7.5 wins. They have their ceiling at 11.1 wins, for whatever all that's worth. What do you see as the range for this team this year?
I look at the Cardinals, and especially when we're talking about kind of where this team is, right? They've been building with Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon. I think this is probably I'm not going to say possibly. This is the best team that they've assembled. I think the depth on both sides of the ball is good. The question is going to be, obviously, how much Trey McBride is too much Trey McBride to go opposite Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's where you wonder, where is that the true number 2 for this team? That guy that when Marvin gets double teamed has that relationship with Kyler and Marvin increased. We're going to see that because, there was kind of a little bit of a disconnect there a year ago. But I think this team goes through the run game and the play action game for their success. That hinges on Kyler Murray's health. That hinges on the success of this offensive line to be able to create a consistent and efficient run game. But I know defensively, this is a team that looks even better than it was a year ago. We talked about the turnstile in the middle, right? Trying to figure out who was going to be healthy, who's going to be at the defensive tackle position. And you have Walter Nolan and what's his name? BJ Ojulari kind of there nursing injuries before they're really healthy. To really kick in and really see the investment of that first round draft pick. But I think there's enough defensively to stem that tide until that point. So I would probably say I'm a hair higher. I would say I would put their floor at 8 wins, and I'm pretty close on that ceiling. I don't know too many teams that will get to 11 or above wins this year in the league. I think there's a lot of good teams this year, and so they're going to eat each other up. So I would still keep it right at about 11, but I'm going to inch it up higher. I'm going to say 8 to 11 is their sweet spot, and I'm landing at probably about 10 wins personally.
Yeah. Can I watch the first 2 months of the season before I do that?
No, you cannot.
Can I?
No, well, you've
September,
already cheated enough by going second.
I'm just saying. September and October, can I watch these guys play?
You get on me for saying Detroit and Green Bay are even. I wasn't saying I couldn't decide. I was saying they're even. Wolf's like, can I see the whole season before I tell you what happens?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, they've improved so much defensively. They have improved so much in regard to that defensive line. And they still have a couple of wild cards that are out there, to Max's point, in regard to some highly talented individuals, some disruptors that once they get healthy, man, they could actually contribute, I think, this year. I'm talking about Walter Nolan. I'm talking about Darius Robinson. I'm talking about these young guys that have young legs and are highly athletic, and I think they're going to contribute. Anyways, for me, the defense is going to have to go out and play better than what we have seen in the past, because the offense, I think, if you tell me that the defense goes out and keeps them in games, I don't think they're going to have a juggernaut as an offense. I don't. But I think their offense doesn't have to be because of that defense and how much better I think that defense is going to be. So I will say that I do believe 12 is the ceiling, definitely. And I would say 8. I can't. I have to go 9 would be the floor.
I think 9's the floor.
9's the floor.
Okay.
Wow, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. The first half of this season feels a little bit easier, right? When you talk about the Saints, what are the Saints? We don't know. We've already talked about that. They're probably not going to be great. Carolina's still in flux, still in transition. 49ers, a lot of missing pieces, a lot of newness. I don't know if they're ready by this point. Seahawks, that's a question. Titans, I don't think are going to be there. Colts, definitely not. But then when you get into this stretch here, Packers, Seahawks, second time in Seattle, and then I think 49ers learn who they are the second time around. That's going to be a little bit tough. And then you have Bucks, Rams, Texans, right there in the mix. You're talking about playoff teams from a year ago. Falcons, could be the end of it. Bengals are always tough. They're going to put up a lot of points, and then you end the season at the Rams. I mean, I could see that 8. That's why I kind of been bullish on 10 wins for me personally. But boy, getting to 12, that's going to be a tall task.
That's a ceiling, I would say.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying
that is a ceiling. I'm not buying into. I think the 49ers have an awful lot they have to prove. I think they've got to prove stuff. I think Seattle as well. I just because you got Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold is going to have to prove it to me once again that what we saw last year in Minnesota was not a fluke. He's going to have to prove it again to me because how did it end for Minnesota as well?
Yeah, against the team in this division.
Got a little nasty, got a little sideways. Yeah, the Seattle offensive line is still an issue.
In the stadium out here.
Yeah, exactly. He had bad experience in this stadium and bad experience against the Rams. So a couple places and teams he's going to see quite a bit going forward. Max, real quick before we let you go, is there one or two key things you see with the Cardinals that decides if they hit their ceiling or their floor, other than injuries?
I think if you figure out who the number 2 is and that relationship with Marvin Harrison flourishes and grows from what it was a year ago, that's going to be a great X factor because now you have something that can be that home run play in the passing game after you soften teams up with the run. I still think this is a run first play action team. Allow Kyler to move on the fringes and allow him that versatility and that carte blanche to run when he wants to, but give him an open runway to try and take off. And like you said, defensively, if those young guys come back sooner than later, that's going to be a big problem to have that youth in the middle, those guys that you've drafted, you've invested draft real estate and draft capital into. If they come and they hit, man, you're talking about a team that could be a top 10 defense potentially. So I look at that, and those are my X factors. If those things happen, you're going to see a fast track with this Cardinal squad.
Yeah, once again, for me, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, and Kyler Murray, and the chemistry thereof. And when I say that specifically, throwing the ball down the field, being able to attack vertically down the field, I think is going to be a prerequisite for the Arizona Cardinals being good. They have to be able to do that for them to be good. And if they're not good, I think 8-9 wins is right where their floor is.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.